matter what your age group is, you or someone you know is interested in buying a home in 2023. It's no secret that the fastest way to building wealth is buying a home in comparison to renting. You may have heard the expression before, would you rather pay your landlord's mortgage or pay your own mortgage? Today, I'm going to be talking about several things that you should do if you want to buy a home in 2023. My husband and I bought our first home in 2020. Previously, we were in 6 figures of consumer debt, and we did not realistically think that we'd be able to ever buy a home. But after doing all the things I'm going to talk about today, we built our home in 2020, and we are at the 2.5-year mark of our 5-year plan to pay off this mortgage. Things have changed a lot since then. Interest rates are more than double what they were when we closed on our home. Regardless of interest rates and how the market is right now, it's still a great idea and the best idea for your financial future to buy a home if you're ready. So I'm going to talk about several things that you should be doing if you're wanting to buy a home in 2023. So the first thing that you'll want to do before anything else is get a copy of your credit report. The mortgage company is going to be looking at your credit report and your credit score as well. Sometimes there might be things on your credit score that you may not even be aware of is on there. So it's a great idea. You're entitled to at least one free credit report a year, but there are definitely sites out there that let you see it more often so you can at least get an idea of what you have on there. With my own personal situation, if I had not checked my credit report, I wouldn't have known that I had an extra car loan on my credit. With my own personal situation, long story short, I got a car loan when I was 19 years old, didn't have a much established credit, and didn't have a great income. My mother helped me co-sign on my car. And in that same transaction, she also got a car herself. And I did not realize that her co-signing for me would also end up putting her car loan on my credit. And I did not realize that until checking my credit report much later. When we were qualifying for our home, they actually counted my mother's car loan in my debt to income ratio with qualifying for my home. At that time, I had no consumer debt, but they considered it my own car payment of over $500 because it was on my credit. So the first step is definitely checking your credit report. If there's anything on there, one thing that we did way before even attempting to qualify for a home was to pay off anything that was like collections, things that were really bringing our credit score down. When we first got married, our credit score was a lot lower than what it was when we qualified. Definitely took a lot of work, a lot of on-time payment history, keeping our credit utilization low, things of that nature. Checking your credit report is super important. You want to know what's on there before any lender has to tell you what's on there. So on the topic of debt to income ratio, something that's going to be super important is lowering your debt to income ratio. Like I said, we had decided to pay off our consumer debt prior to attempting to qualify for a mortgage. For us, that was super important because we didn't want to have a ton of payments while also trying to pay for a mortgage. We wanted to make sure we put ourselves in the best position to be able to not only afford our mortgage, but be comfortable and have extra money left over to do what we pleased. With us personally, we took 3 years to pay off that 6-figure debt that we had. It was mainly student loans, but also car loans, a little bit of credit card in there, but we took time to lower our debt to income ratio as much as we could. That's something that banks look at to make sure that you're going to qualify and that you can actually afford this mortgage that you're trying to take out. Another thing that was super important to us with getting ready to buy our first home was saving a ton of money. Not only saving money for things like your down payment, but you also have to think about closing costs. And for us, we also decided to save as much as we could for furniture, things that could come up like that, just because we were living in a 900 square foot apartment and then we're moving to a home that was much larger. It was just a bigger space that we were moving into. If you're someone who's maybe making a lateral move and your size of your home is going to be about the same size as your home, that may not be something that you have to worry about as much. Maybe you're more so going to keep the furniture that you have. And we did keep majority of the furniture, if not all of it. But just with having a bigger home, it comes with other things that you're going to need to pay for, not just the down payment. So keep that in mind, of course, when you're trying to buy a home. There's an endless amount of things that you end up needing to save for. Stuff that comes up when you're purchasing a home, you have to pay for an inspection, just so many things that come up. So if it was me personally buying a home in 2023, I'm saving as much money as humanly possible because you just never know what's going to come up when you're doing it. So save as much as possible. right now, with the way things are, with the economy, with the Fed continuously raising interest rates, that means that if you have a high yield savings account, the money that you're getting paid every month is increasingly going up in 2023. If you haven't already seen my video talking all about high yield savings accounts, I will definitely have that linked in the description. But the Fed has already talked about their plans to continue to raise interest rates throughout 2023. If you're someone who has money in a high yield savings account, that is good for you. That is great news. But the thing is, if you're someone who continues to take on new debt, that can impact you as far as your interest rate for a home. So on the topic of the Fed raising interest rate and expecting to continue to do so, the last thing that we did in 2020, we did do it because we wanted to have a low payment, low interest rate, everything as much as possible. One thing that we did that people may not think about is buying down your interest rate or buying points, which is basically when you're going to close, they give you an option of paying a certain amount of money to lower your interest rate. That's going to be super important in 2023. If you're someone who has that option, if you have those extra funds available, I definitely strongly suggest it because your interest rate makes up how many thousands of dollars you're going to have to pay back in interest. So definitely super important to do that if you can. That comes right hand in hand with saving as much money as possible. But with these interest rates and the way things are, people ask if it's worth it to buy a home. The market slowed down a lot. We all know that. However, if it was me in this situation and I was currently renting, knowing what I know now and owning a home, I still would go out and purchase a home in 2023. One thing you have to think about that I didn't even think about when we purchased our home. So our minimum payment for our mortgage is $1,070 a month. Let's say in 2045, imagine having a monthly payment of $1,070 per month. That's probably going to be unheard of in that time. Even now in 2023, it's unlikely in some areas that you have housing costs of $1,070 a month. Just not talked about enough about how your interest rate affects you long term with your home and with buying a home. When we left our apartment in 2020, we were paying the same amount, if not more, in monthly housing costs. So now to be able to lock in a payment that's so low for years to come, we knew that it was something that we'd be able to afford even if something happened. You never know with the way the job market is right now. Unemployment is low, but we've heard about a lot of layoffs, and it's just something that's super important to be able to have housing costs that isn't causing you to be house poor or that you're struggling to make ends meet. You want to have it as low as possible. And I know $1,070 isn't actually as low as it could possibly get. It really just depends on the cost of your home, interest rate, things of that nature. But if you're someone who even gets a home that's much less than that, you might be able to secure a payment that's $500, $600. So that's one thing that I would make sure I could do in 2023 if buying a home, make my payment as low as possible. That way, for years to come, that payment is something that we can always afford. So that is some of the most important things with buying a home that you want to think about. If there's anything that I missed, comment down below and let me know what your important key items would be for buying a home this year. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. And if you want to see more videos from us, we will have it linked at the end of this video.